On this episode of the Subtle Foodie Podcast, we'll be talking to Chef Coco from Baja Sur Fresh Mex here in Creekside.
Very excited to have her on board today.
Very excited, yeah.
And also brought to you by Fajita Pizza on Gosling Road here in the Woodlands and the new location in Conroe. And also, of course, Euro World Motorsports,
And of course,
the very best for your European performance exotic.
come join us and see what Chef Coco has to say. Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of the Subtle Foodie Podcast. Oh, I hope it's episode 6.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure it is. It is.
I haven't counted, but I'm with you.
It is. Hi Frank, how you doing?
Great, Anthony.
Welcome back.
Happy to be here as always,
How are you?
especially for episode 6.
For episode 6.
Episode 6.
Thank you. Thank you, Chef Coco, correcting our language here. Welcome.
Happy to help.
Chef, how are you?
I'm great. How are y'all?
Great. Chef Coco from Baja Sur here in Creekside, west of the Woodlands. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
We're going to talk about some cool, fun stuff today. Frank, what else we got going on?
Well, we also have sponsorship from Fajita Pizza on Gosling and a new location in Conroe.
Yay.
And also Euro World Motorsports, the best of what you need for your European performance car.
Now, this time I'm going to take some notes and I'm going to write some things down that we talk about to include links, particularly for the YouTube group. I know we're on the audio sources, but in the YouTube channel for Andrea's last time, so episode 5, I included a whole bunch of links this time for like Routine, which was the DNA-based multivitamin thing that we talked about,
Right.
and like MyFitnessPal. We talked about healthy stuff.
All
Now,
right.
today we're not going to do that.
Okay, great.
We're going to
Love
talk about the
that.
regular
Some
stuff today.
good stuff.
But I actually brought something to take notes this time. But we're here to talk to Chef Coco. So we did a Taste Buds video with you a week or so ago. It's already out.
Yes. And our chemistry was just so dynamic.
It was fantastic. So we had to come in and talk to you because you have a really cool story.
Thank you.
So you told us a little bit about your story growing up in kind of family restaurant business, and we love stuff like that, and seeing people grow through all that. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about supply chain, but the first thing we got to talk about is something that is very near and dear to your heart and my heart, which is avocados.
Oh my God.
Avocados.
My heart.
Can I be in on this? I love avocados too.
What kind of avocados do you like? How do you like your avocados?
Correct.
Believe it or not, I like them in a broad range of applications. I can literally just, once I get that big lump out of there, I can just
The seed.
scoop it and eat it. Or my wife does a fantastic guacamole involving a lot of lime, cilantro,
Beautiful.
and all the good stuff. But I like mine to have a little bit of a bite to it.
So a little unripe.
Jalapeno, little.
Oh, you mean a little bite, meaning
Little spice.
bite
Spicy bite to
versus a little unripe.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, I have my preference on various types of guacamole. Like I prefer mine properly mixed up with very few chunkiness in it. Although I notice a lot of people prefer a chunky a chunky guacamole.
Yeah.
And, and then, of course, if you have an avocado toast, I still like it spicy, even with the bits of bacon and egg on top.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Especially with the bacon and egg.
The biggest issue is, and we have an update about this, but the biggest issue is avocados. The importation of avocados from the state of Michoacan to Mexico was banned
Due to?
due to the
That's like,
safety of
Dun, dun,
due to
He said
it's like
due
an
to.
episode of Narcos or something.
Exactly.
Due to the safety of the federal inspectors who inspect the trucks when they come across the border.
Border control.
What do you think?
Obviously, what do you mean? What do I think? It's
Are you some sort of
Like-
cartel expert?
that's neither here nor there. We're not going to get into that
We're gonna have to
today.
do that blurred face thing
Right.
and blurred voice
We'll talk about
thing.
that after the show.
Yeah.
No, it's what are people going to do? They're going to lose their minds if we're not going to have avocados. When this whole story came out, what was it, 11 days ago? They were like, right now we have 11 days worth of avocados, and that's a normal usage for the whole United States. First of all, what's a normal usage for avocados? And second of all, like, to be given 11 days until quote unquote D-Day without avocados.
A day.
heyday.
Avocado day.
Avocado
Avocado
day.
day.
Like, I mean, these people would go into a frenzy without their guacamole, without their avocado toast. Like, you know, I remember it. I have like kind of PTSD from like the lime shortage that was years
Lime
ago.
shortage,
Remember that was like they got what was it that they got some sort of infection in them?
Like, I think it was like a tree disease. Yeah.
Yeah, something. But it, I mean, shot up to like $120 a case
Right.
for limes. And I'm already, you know, people don't really know, you know, what we're really paying as restaurants for produce. And I mean, it's something as far as taking a case of avocados that you're maybe paying $50 for. That can skyrocket overnight
It
into
changes all the time.
1, 2, even 100. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane. And what do you expect a restaurant to do in that case?
Right. And the interesting, so you mentioned the 11 days of avocado. So for those of you who have not kept up with the avocado demand, like we have,
It's actually a crisis.
yeah,
The avocado
is.
crisis.
right, yeah,
crisis.
Dun dun dun. We need a
That's-
graphic for that, like the
Crisis.
avocado crisis.
Yeah.
So the 11 days comes from the number of avocado or the amount of avocados countrywide that are either on trucks or in ripening houses.
Right.
So they're picked unripe, they're cold, treated, put on trucks, and they're put in ripening houses at certain times based
Right.
on certain orders. When big companies like Brothers or Pan American or whoever orders avocados for restaurants,
Correct.
that's where it's coming from. So that's where the 11 days is coming from. As of today, I think that is either day 8 or
Like
day
day 8.
7, something like that.
Sure. And you know what a lot of people don't know either is, you know, restaurants do have an option of what kind of stage the avocado is in. You can have a number 1, a number
Right.
2, a number 3, and that varies with how ripe they are. So I can get, you know, and what I was really preparing for was I was going to order these next few days heavy and get like a number 1, something like super, super ripe
Right.
that I can have for days until I kind of figured out what to do or something happened,
Yeah.
which thankfully something
So now
happened.
that brings up another question. Knowing that you were prepared to do that, and you're one of how many restaurants that serve
Exactly.
Mexican in the United States
Oh,
on a
right,
daily?
yeah.
Like, think
How
about
many other
big
restaurants are ready to
restaurants.
order heavy like you, except you're a chain of 20 or 30?
Exactly. Like, think of a Chuy's, think of a Gloria, think of a.
But we're talking
all
we're
of
talking
them.
Tex-Mex places. We are not the only Tex-Mex places are not the
Right.
only ones who use avocados. Avocado toast is a staple
signature.
It's now-
across every single brunch,
Yeah.
across every single cuisine.
Matter of fact, the other day I
Across
saw that
country.
it was available at the drive-through menu at Dunkin'.
Oh my God.
I was like, "What? Dunkin'
What?
has avocado
Are
toast?
they putting it on a donut?
Man.
It's toast."
Must have
'Cause I
been
might
from
eat that.
TikTok.
I was tempted to get it because it's only $1.79. I'm like,
Wow.
I wonder
That's
how much.
actually not
That's
bad.
actually not
I-
bad.
I wonder how much additive they're
Avocado.
putting in the avocado. in there.
Right.
They've got to
Exactly.
paid somebody. They have paid somebody off for the
Exactly.
avocados that cheap.
I mean, what they were putting on there was green.
Or it could have come from a bag and it could just be avocado pulp,
Correct.
which is another thing that people can order. That's when times get real bad.
Yeah.
Real bad. Still
so-
avocado, but
Technically,
Technically.
But so the reason why was because the border could not guarantee the safety of the 90 inspectors. One of them was threatened. They pulled all of the inspectors, so nobody was inspecting anything from Michoacan.
Yeah.
Nothing could come through the border. The good news is, and the silver lining here is, as of 1:53 today, which is today is the oh god, what is today? The 18th.
the 18th.
The Border Patrol has gone back to work, and they are now importing the avocados again.
Ooh. And what also people don't know is because the first thing I thought of, like everybody else, I'm sure, is okay. Well, secondary, California. California
yeah.
is not in season right now. They're not. They're not producing. They're not growing.
It's
You
not really
can't-
secondary
It's not an
because
option.
they can't
Right.
pick them, and even if they could pick them, they couldn't ripen them fast enough.
Exactly.
Even with ethylene or whatever, they couldn't ripen them fast enough
So
to
again,
produce them.
so that makes me curious when you talk about number of days supply in the chain, as you mentioned. Does anybody have like an estimate of what that volume of
and that's
avocados
what
is? I
I
mean,
was
is that-
wondering. I was like, what's a normal usage between 11
a
days?
million,
Like,
10 million?
You know, thank God we're not in May and we're not in Cinco de Mayo or, you know,
Well, but
National
we had the
Tequila
Super
Day.
Bowl.
Right.
We-
That's
and-
a good
and,
one.
You know, luckily this happened right after the Super
After,
Bowl
yeah.
because you can't get through halftime You know, I think
People would have to have cheese only.
I think 50 Cent made it to $1.50 by eating a lot of avocados.
450.
Sorry, poor 50.
450.
He was hanging there like a champ.
He was. He was doing it. I mean, respect.
Yeah, I couldn't have done it.
I laughed at all the veins in his head when he went upside down.
He was. His head had turned a little red. By the time
the
he got
whole
there.
all I could think the whole time he was performing was, how long was he upside down? like that?
Exactly. I was thinking that too.
Yeah,
I
because
was
he couldn't
like,
have just like gotten up there.
right.
And when you go back
the timing?
and when you replay it back, just before they cut to him, when they finished the little dance, they all did a little stomp. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that was to wake up 50 and let him
Oh
know.
my god.
You've got to
Like, hey,
perform
we're
now.
on. We're on.
I
Snap
was,
out of it.
I was really hoping that
He would fall.
when Snoop came down, that Martha Stewart would be in the kitchen.
Oh my
you know, you know how they
God.
do like the cooking
That would have
shows
been
and stuff together?
amazing.
That would have
Oh,
been
that would have
awesome.
been
They did have a good
amazing.
Super Bowl commercial. Martha and
Yeah.
Snoop did have a good Super Bowl
I love them
commercial.
as a dynamic.
They're
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 the
fantastic.
power couple.
Well,
They're
to me,
love
what
it.
was so funny was there was a roast with 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg, one of those celebrity roasts, and Martha Stewart was there. And the comedian who was talking said, all these rap artists on stage, and Martha Stewart's done more time than all of them combined.
Yes. I
like, oh,
remember
wow.
that
Yeah.
roast. Oh my gosh, I remember.
That was pretty good.
That was great.
That was pretty. I love their dynamic. It was really cool.
All the memes that came out after
Fantastic.
that. Oh my god.
Fantastic.
And I was so shocked on how fast it happened. Like
Within the hour.
within not
The
even
show wasn't even
like,
over.
The show wasn't even over. It wasn't even over, and I'm just like, oh my god, these are great.
I like the whole Kanye thing where he showed. This is completely off topic of what
Yes.
we're talking.
We were eating while we
when he
saw
had
it.
the whole like ski mask.
Can I just say,
thing
Judd
on.
Apatow was killing it for the Super Bowl for me. His Instagram post,
Yeah.
like, and just I knew exactly him being inside Kanye's head.
Yeah,
And then when he
yeah.
took off the ski mask and Judd responded, and I was just like, oh my god.
Because Kanye
You're
was
doing
halfway
great.
through the game going, when can I take this off? When can I take this
Like,
off?
I made a
It's like,
mistake.
no, you're into it. You're into
Yeah.
it now. You can't. You got to leave it on.
And then
But
I
he
love
did,
the
but he did
idea-
lose it like at halftime.
Yeah, he did. And I love the idea of his friend next to him saying, well, I told you to wear the creepy contacts, but you didn't listen. You never listened.
That was
like,
that was pretty good.
oh my
That's
god.
pretty good. Okay, getting back to a few things. I do have a couple questions.
Yeah.
For you. We're gonna talk about a few of these things later. But what's your favorite restaurant right now?
Ooh, man.
Can't be your own.
No.
All right.
Austin kept talking about his own. Sorry, it's one of my favorite restaurants. But
You know, this is probably not going to be a great answer, but it's going to be an honest answer.
Don't worry about offending any friends or anything like that.
It's an honest
This is
answer.
honest. As long as you don't say like Boston Market or
Whiskey cake.
whiskey cake. Okay.
Whiskey
Well,
cake.
that's a good
That
place.
is
I
my
like
good
it.
buddy's Frank's, one of his go-to restaurants.
It is my go-to restaurant. You know, I don't have a lot of time off. I don't have a lot of time to go to dinners
Yeah.
and like enjoy myself. But if I have a day off, I'm calling my friend and I'm like, "Hey, you want to go sit at the bar?
Yeah.
You want to have some duck wings or some
Duck wings?
Brussels sprouts covered in bacon?" That's where my
Brussels
heart
sprouts are
is.
Like the way to go now. Everybody
Like it's
loves
so
them.
good.
And a little credit to Whiskey Cake here. The all the food's made from scratch,
All of them, yeah.
and they're all sourcing it local.
Yeah. And they do a thing that I, used to do and have tried to do in Baja too, which they have a 5-course whiskey pairing dinner.
Oh.
So I used to be involved in a
would
restaurant.
be on the floor for that, and you should provide Uber.
Absolutely. the key is to bring a friend who drinks way more than you.
There you go.
And
There
you
go.
just kind of like slide.
There you go.
Because I'll end up with
They can drink
6
them all,
glasses
you
in
can-
front of
yeah,
me, and I'm just
gotcha.
like, oh,
And everybody has that heavy drinking friend.
it's essential.
everybody has it.
It's essential.
It's essential.
You have to have it.
Yeah. So we got an update.
Oh.
3.3 billion. That says 3 billion pounds
Over here it says
of avocados
3,022
in 2021.
million pounds.
I'm assuming we're
insane.
consumed.
pounds.
That's a lot of avocados.
Wow.
I mean, there's
lot of
a God.
Imagine those like the fields. Then imagine the tanks that they're stored in and ripened in. Like,
Well,
imagine the
Worse
setup
than
for that.
Imagine
The
actually having to
logistics that go into
seed
that.
those
Yeah.
avocados. Because that's a manual freaking process. We have people in
And
our place who-
those take 8 to 10 years to mature. So imagine the time, the process,
And the size of the farms that it takes to produce that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of
can't.
the things I was reading about with the disappearance of bees.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we all heard about the
bees.
disappearance of bees?
Yeah.
The primary cause of the disappearance of bees are these massive single crop farms.
Mm-hmm.
The key to a bee pollinating and surviving and have the nutrients in its honey is it's collecting pollen from many different plants. If it's stuck doing one plant,
Right. That makes a lot of
there are
sense.
no other nutrients.
Oh, gotcha.
Absolutely.
And so that's the biggest challenge is, so that's why these massive farm places, like you have avocado farms in California, they have to import their bees to get their trees pollinated.
Wow.
You reminded me of something. I've got a friend who's an apiarist.
Ooh, apiarist.
We need to bring one of those
She's
ones.
a bee person.
Yes.
I like that.
She actually rehomes beehives.
I have a sister in College Station who has
does
her
that.
own hives as
I may
well.
have to- we may have to have her on.
That's an interesting topic all by itself.
Absolutely.
And of course, they're killed by avocados.
Bees are killed
Bees are
by
killed by
avocados.
avocados?
Yeah. No, the fact that it's not the
I was like,
avocado.
what?
I was waiting for the follow-up.
Right.
No, the reason for
You can't just lay something like that.
I know,
out there, right?
What did they do to avocados?
It's like saying beer is becoming obsolete.
Yeah.
Like,
You
whoa,
can't just
whoa,
drop
whoa,
Break
that out.
drops
whoa.
these things, yeah.
No, but the point is avocado, like you said, they take so long to mature and grow.
Right.
So the size of a farm it would take to produce is many times larger than the size of the actual crop
Yeah.
it
Correct.
produces.
Yeah.
So the acreage alone
Right.
would be miles and miles of square miles.
Yeah.
That a beehive cannot survive in that area because there isn't enough
True. Facts.
plant
Yeah.
variation.
Yeah, right.
So it's massive single crop farms that are killing bee populations.
Wow.
Interesting.
Avocados, especially the ones that require, like you said, these massive mature times, are right up there with like asparagus. That doesn't grow overnight. Bamboo's a challenge. Bamboo, when it's growing, you're seeing it growing inches a day,
Yeah.
but it's 6 years till the plant breaks soil.
Right. Wow.
That's a long time. I don't have that patience.
So,
Nobody does.
in another world, or now that I'm thinking about this, so what would be like if you were a farmer and you don't want to kill the bees, you want to have great avocados, are you also planting other crops next to your avocado crops? Like, one, is there space for that? And two, what do those plants look like?
Yeah.
It would have to be wildflowers.
Yeah,
That would have the variety,
for sure.
but it'd take a lot of them, depending on the size of the
Sure.
bee population.
Now, going back to Kanye and the mechanical bees that he wants to.
The mechanical bees. Is this a technological replacement for regular bees?
This is what he told Joe Rogan, that if he was in charge of the free world, he would make mechanical bees. Solved a lot of problems.
Yeah, but the Department of Defense already has its own thing going on with that. That's another conversation.
So-
We're getting into conspiracy theory.
Correct.
No, it's not a conspiracy. It's actual technology. They've developed very small drones. They look like insects, and they've
People are going to be putting tabs on us. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
We should probably.
The cartel.
Yeah.
micro drones
Dun, dun, dun.
Micro drones.
disguised as various types.
We're
of
gonna
insects.
switch. We're gonna switch topics.
Yes.
We're gonna talk a little bit about your story.
Okay.
Yes, that's more.
So that's more important than
It's a little safer. It's a little
drone
safer.
bees, as long as there's no cartel talk.
I can't promise that.
Give us the background because we got to hear your story the other day. But
Yeah.
It's a good one.
give us
So, my background, I grew up in Crystal Beach, Texas. If nobody knows where that is, you take a ferry from Galveston over to Bolivar Peninsula. You drive about 15 minutes into the middle of that peninsula, and that's where Crystal Beach is.
that is my favorite place, and the very first place I took when I got
Yeah?
my new Jeep, I took it off roading was on Crystal.
They have big Jeep events over there.
I did not go to one of those because those people are.
Crazy.
I love the
I'm not
Jeep,
gonna
I
say
love the Jeep
crazy.
community, but they're crazy.
They're intense.
When you put them all together like that,
They're intense.
I just drove down.
Well, that event, the Crystal Beach event, is famously dangerous.
Famously dangerous.
I guess notorious
Famously.
would be a better
And what do
word.
they call it? It like top.
I'll think of it. At some
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
I
Go
can't,
ahead.
like
Go ahead.
it is.
Our internet
catchy.
guy is not here right now.
Yeah, he'll be here in a second.
I know we need that answer, sir. Tops off or something like that. Tops down, whatever. But anyway, so my mother actually opened a restaurant 6 months before I was born. So safe to say that my whole life was raised in that restaurant.
I mean, she was 3 months pregnant when she opened the restaurant.
That is correct, sir. Good math.
That is, well, I've
math.
had a
Flies
couple
on
children
him.
myself.
Bees, yes, but no
Bees.
flies on him.
I mean, I remember how immobilized my own wife was 3 months pregnant.
Think about
Tell her to open
opening
a restaurant. She would have looked at me like, What's wrong with you?
It was from what I understand, it was a very challenging time.
And it doesn't get easier throughout the
If anything, it gets
pregnancy.
harder.
It's not like the newborn is making it super easy to run a
Correct.
restaurant. Yeah.
It gets harder. Thankfully, she had my grandparents to help her. My grandmother and my grandfather were big supporters and, really aided in that process. My papa, built a lot of things for her. My grandma was there to, aid in any way that she could. So.
And then after my daughter was born, my wife spent 2 months in a chair.
Did she have a C-section?
Oh, no. We had natural birth. But
Wow. Good for
the
her.
point was she spent several months in that chair. That baby would sleep, change the diaper, nurse, and sleep. And my wife was in a complete of almost paralyzed exhaustion for months
Wow.
after the birth.
It takes a toll.
Frank was at Whiskey Kick.
For sure.
I can only imagine being told to open a restaurant under those conditions. I can't imagine it.
And my mother was also, women are going to hate me for this, but not in an advanced stage. But she was 34 when she had me, and she was 37 when she had my younger sister. And that's kind of not on the great side of things,
Right,
especially
yeah.
back then.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
many, many medical advancements now, and
A lot of nutritional advancements that make that easier now
Exactly.
that did not exist back
I
then.
couldn't imagine how much harder it was, 33 years ago. That's how old I am. Shh. We won't go there. But getting back on track, yes. So my mother has, all these great, wonderful stories about me in the restaurant. There's this one famous picture, which sadly we don't have anymore because 2008, 2009 is historically when that Hurricane Ike came through.
Yeah.
Devastated the peninsula. We actually lost the house and the restaurant. So that house was, almost 40 years old, and the restaurant was 23. Wow. So it was
Wow.
it was devastating to say the least. I grew up there, and we were allowed clearance, the next day, getting back, and I had no idea where I was. Like, everything was just dunes or sand and leveled. There was one house that remained in Gilchrist. It was that big yellow house
I remember seeing pictures
by
of
Rollover
that,
Pass. And it was like, it was an anomaly because everything else was just
Everything else
so
was gone, yeah.
devastated. But yeah, growing up in the restaurant, the one picture I was talking about was I'm in this carrier, your typical baby carrier, and there's a stove, no big deal, next to me. Me climbing out of the carrier myself and just heading for the stove.
Oh, no.
Like, oh, that looks fun. Let me go see what that is.
We wanted to get started cooking.
And instead of my wonderful mother, like, oh my gosh, my baby's going for the stove. No, let's take a picture. Let's have this memory. Let's
Look
take a
how
picture.
cute this is. She's walking towards certain death.
And the first thing I said when I saw that picture, I was like, first of all, I love that you got a picture of this. Second of all, like, I feel like I was in danger, and your first choice was to take a picture.
Was to grab the camera.
I'm not mad at it, but nice.
Well, it's interesting that that's not. I always thought that was a more recent phenomenon.
Right.
Where we see all these things on the internet of people like, I don't know, getting attacked by a dog or getting robbed or something.
People
And,
stand
and
by,
the
film
first thing is to,
Like, oh,
film
wait.
it, not go out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then I got a little bit older. I was in one of those little walkers, and it was a small restaurant. I want to say there was maybe 15 tables, and it was kind of longer rather than wide. And so this is me zooming up and down the aisles of the restaurant, going table to table. Got a little bit older, and I'm very grateful now because I do have kind of like a outgoing personality. I'm not scared to meet a stranger. I don't meet a stranger.
You were raised in public.
I was raised in public, so this is me, 4 or 5 years old, going and sitting with strangers
that's funny.
and just having a conversation. Like, I would
like you
draw
said-
them pictures. I would just make myself right at home.
You were the entertainment.
I was the entertainment.
Yeah.
I didn't get paid though, so we need to go back to that.
I don't think you can get paid as a child.
And that's
I think
another
there's
great
child
note.
labor laws.
You know how many times I had to take a phone call for child labor laws? Like, people would call on my mother all the time, and I'd be sitting there on the phone like, do you operate any heavy machinery? I'm like, sometimes I do the Coke machine. Like, is that okay? Like, what? I'm like 11, 12, and I'm like taking these calls.
But they would talk to you, not
Well, they would talk to my mom first, and then
Right.
they'd be like, well, they have to talk to you.
because they figure kids are going to be
Well,
honest.
Right.
And I've always said child labor laws, it's exactly what's killing this country. My daughter, who's 12, he would happily
I
work for money.
I'm waiting.
I broke instantly. I couldn't.
I'm waiting to hear the follow up. The follow up on
This is gonna be good.
I have
We're
a
ready.
12-year-old daughter who has been offered money to do things, and they said, we can't, child labor laws. And I've always said, ruining this country. 16, give me a break.
Mexico's not like that.
Not at all.
Yeah, at least you didn't tell the child labor people that you were like climbing in a giant mixer. Or,
No, I'm just like,
something like that.
serving up margaritas and absolutely, we're doing great things.
Did you have your TABC?
I didn't even know what TABC was back then.
Did you have your TABC? I was 12.
I was 12. What's that?
Yeah.
Had enough issues with child labor people
So
calling.
grew up in the
So I
restaurant.
grew up, then eventually got a little older, started bussing tables, started waiting on tables, got into high school and, right about to graduate and, allowing my mom to take some time off and me like kind of managing on the weekends for her.
Nice.
As a teenager at this point.
As a teenager, and might I add, I was trying to find a great word for this. I was not, I was cocky as a teenager. We'll put
A
it
teenager who was overconfident? Like,
right.
gosh.
Exactly.
I've never heard of that before.
Exactly. Like
Somebody write that down.
I could do no wrong. I could say no wrong. I was the shit. Like, so I
Did you ever
loved
really
it.
grow out of that?
I did, absolutely. I feel like I'm, and maybe this is just my own perception because I hate, especially chefs who are like, overly cocky and for no reason and want to
Imagine
yell,
that.
scream, blah, blah, blah. I have made it a principle in my life to never be that.
Yeah.
I don't yell, scream. I like to deal with disappointment. Like, oh, you disappointed me. Like,
Oh, the guilt trip.
The guilt
That's
trip.
awesome.
and it works a lot
There's
better.
a fantastic knowledge graph, and Justin might be able to pull it up, but it's this knowledge graph of when you start doing something
Mm-hmm.
that your confidence level is so high, but your knowledge is so low. And then once you get experience, it's like a inverse curve
Yes.
that goes like this, where you realize, I don't know anything.
What am I doing?
I don't know
Backtrack.
anything. And then you flip around
Yeah.
and you start to learn, and that's when you really become.
You can
like
never
the expert.
stop
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
And I learned that once I got into my 20s. I was just like, I know nothing. Like, what am I doing in my life right now? I'm still like, there's a lot of things that I want to learn. But going back to being a cocky 18-year-old, it was a seasonal place. Obviously, you're going to be busier for your 4th of July's, your New Year's, your spring breaks. We would have lines outside the door because not only was my mom like in the center of Crystal Beach where the zoo beach would be and everybody stayed, but she did breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh,
my
wow.
goodness.
So it was all day long and it was lines all day long. And you would obviously have those people coming from the big city who,
Things aren't moving fast enough here.
things
You
aren't
make
moving fast enough.
had a
What's going
reservation.
on? Like, this is, no, honey, fix this. So, and I want to say also 90% of the guests that we actually did have from out of town, like, recognized it was a small town, recognized it was a mom and pop. I've had so many people graciously bust their own tables and bring them back to the dishwasher in the back. And I'm just like, who are you? Like, can we have more of you? You're amazing. And they would be so,
Respectful
appreciative. of-
restaurant patrons.
Absolutely.
that.
Imagine that. You don't see that anymore, unfortunately. But then you would have those people who were just like out of this world. And being a cocky 18-year-old, I would be like trying to fix the situation, talk to them about it. Of course, these people want to challenge you. They were like, we need to speak to the manager. And of course, it would be one of those weekends that I decided to give my wonderful mother a day off. So it would just be me. And so I did this little thing where I walked into the kitchen and I walked back out and I said, hi.
I love the passive aggressiveness of that.
Absolutely. So passive aggressive. And I'm mortified by it now. But I would walk out
No, it's fantastic.
and I'd be like, hi, I'm Coco. Can I help you? You're not the manager. Oh my God, this is disgraceful. I'm like, actually, ma'am, my name is half of this restaurant, Kobe's. I'm the Co in the Kobe's. You see all these pictures right here on the wall. Yeah, that's of me and that's of my sister. There's also a burger on the menu. That's the Coco burger. Guess you can named after that. Like, yeah, so how can I help you? And of course, they would get irate and storm off like, we're never coming back here again. This is
I'm
just
sure
the
You were
most.
heartbroken.
the next morning I'd saw them for breakfast and be like, oh my God, welcome back. Because where else are you going to get breakfast? The donut place, which Danae's Donuts I loved and I still love. But I know I'm going to see you again. I know you're just having a moment. Like, be a little bit more respectful. That's where the passive aggressive comes out.
Now that leads to an interesting topic. As a small business owner myself and having these similar interactions with a customer, tell me you don't learn something about human psychology in the process.
Absolutely. Yeah, I probably have a degree in psychology by now, working in a restaurant all my life. Absolutely.
Working with the public, it'll teach you a lot.
Yeah.
And I think everyone in their life has to go through this industry, whether it's a hostess, server, bartender, manager.
Well, it gives you a perspective.
Absolutely.
And I think an awareness. We talked about this last podcast with Andrea, and the awareness on food and portion size and all sorts of other stuff. But just awareness in general and perspective in general is, you could be having a moment and having a bad day, and you come into a mom and pop restaurant and you're upset because there's a line, but you got to understand what is happening to everybody else in that restaurant. And somebody said something once to me, and it was, you've got to remember that the other person could be dealing with shit that you just have no clue about.
Everybody's fighting a battle.
Everybody's fighting a battle, and you just have no clue about.
Yeah, a little bit of kindness goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
but passive aggressive
there's something to that.
People tend to get a little bit of a lesson.
Well, they do cross the line.
Yeah.
I mean, I myself, one of my favorites was a customer that called from out of town, wanted me to inspect a Bentley for them. And as I saw the name, and I was at my desk, saw the name on the phone, looked it up, said Washington, D.C., looked the guy up. Is a D.C. attorney, 30 years old, buying a 10-year-old Bentley for $50,000 and asked me to do a pre-purchase inspection on it. I told him it was $400. And he said, no, that's way too much. You got to work with me on this. I said, no, I don't.
Nice. Respect.
Yeah.
But he didn't, and it wasn't just the words he used. He had that attitude in his voice of, you have to. I'm looking at some 30-year-old kid, a few years out of law school, just won his first case apparently. And now he's buying a 10-year-old Bentley for $50,000. He thinks he's hot stuff.
Absolutely.
And he thinks he's going to boss around a business owner in Houston, Texas. Son, you've lost your mind.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, bless your heart. A D.C. attorney bossing around some business owner in Texas.
And it's really the attitude. It's the attitude. Like, you have a roof over your head, you are healthy, you are probably substantially well off. You're going to inflict your attitude onto somebody else because you're having a bad day, when I'm sure their life in the grand scheme of things is probably 10 to 20 times worse than yours, and they're still showing up, they're still putting a smile on their face, and they're serving you. Well, respect.
And what I don't understand is so many people have had the job. I mean, I've worked in restaurants and bars, multiples, throughout my entire college career. Coffee houses, bars, restaurants, multiples of each. And I knew so many other students who were engaged in the same type of employment while trying to get their degree, to the point where if you aren't an athlete at the university, you must be working some kind of service industry job to get by. How does that not teach you some very permanent lessons? And why didn't you take them with you into the real world?
Time is a powerful, what is it?
Equalizer.
No. It's a powerful thing that makes you forget.
Oh.
And even if people like that do, work in those industries, and that, that brings me on to a topic that we've never really talked about here before, and that is the people who, at least I know, that work in restaurants are some of the hardest working people that I know. They're on their feet for 8 to 12 hours a day.
How many times have you ever heard me say, the restaurant industry, I think, is the single hardest way to earn a living in the world?
And the culture here in the United States is a little bit different with respect to pay in kitchens, pay in restaurants, tipping culture, all of that. I mean, I know that there's prominent restaurateurs who go down the road of pay a living wage and eliminate the kind of the tipping
Yeah.
concept. I mean, Thomas Keller is the most famous one who
Right.
does that, right? So at the French Laundry at Per Se, the bills are literally, I mean, Rachel and I had the opportunity to go to Per Se, and the bill was literally 2 times, and it was
Correct.
whatever it was, $400 or $500.
Yeah, a person.
It was it,
Yeah.
and then wine, and then tax, and then the total. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And we were talking to the woman who was our server, and she's like, yeah, she says, we are paid well. We get benefits.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason she'd been there for a really long time, because it creates that loyalty and that commitment. But, here, I know in Texas, the kitchen wages are lower, the restaurant wages are lower, they're making effort on tips.
Yeah.
And there's some servers I know who are kind of professional servers
Yeah.
who make a lot of
They
money.
make a great living.
They
Some
make a
even more than their
great li- yeah.
managers.
Yeah, make a great living
devastating
based
sometimes.
on tips.
Yeah, well, I mean, if that guy's making money on tips, he's generating future customers for your restaurant.
Absolutely.
And I think there's, whether or not you believe in the tipping concept or not, the paying for the value of the service is important.
Yes.
And it's not it shouldn't be an expectation. It shouldn't be
Right.
anything like that. Tipping percentages,
Yeah.
have gone from the old school, which was like 10 to 15, and now it's 20,
Yeah.
the more here, if you value that service and are provided with that good service, it's good to recognize that service.
So, and also tipping culture in general is just a whole nother topic that we could spend an hour on.
More
But
than- yeah.
the main thing that I want to get across real quick is people don't understand. It's not just, I think people have this stigma of like, well, it's not my responsibility to pay your employees.
Right.
But you have to also understand that where we're in Texas, it is a $2.13 hourly rate no matter how you spin it. 90% of the restaurants in Texas are giving their servers and their bartenders $2.13 an hour.
That's $2.13 an hour.
And there's no way around that. So, yes, it's not your responsibility to have to pay for a company's employees by tipping them. But at the same time, they're providing you a service. You want to pay for that service they're providing you. But not only that, on the back side of things, they're also tipping out their bussers. They're tipping out their bartenders. Even some cases, they're tipping out their hostesses. So let's say you go in with a large party and it's $100. 25% of that, you're giving them 25 bucks. But what you don't realize, if you don't give them that money, they're already having to pay probably $10 in tip share
Right.
out of their pocket.
Right.
So by you stiffing them, you are now having that server be responsible to pay for your service,
right.
to pay for your drinks getting to the table, to pay for your table to be cleaned by the busser, to
Right.
pay for the hostess to seat you at your table. That's what servers, that's the bad side of things that people never realize or never, think about because they just don't know.
Well, the infrastructure costs of running a restaurant.
Absolutely.
Nobody thinks about that. Nobody thinks about what it costs to build the place and potentially the loans and things and the investors that are
Equipment.
that are there. The equipment cost. I mean, between my
linen
first
costs.
restaurant and second restaurant, equipment all went up 30%.
Yeah.
It wasn't a year.
Yeah.
It wasn't a year.
30%.
30%.
So that's real inflation there.
We won't even get into the paper products
Oh,
because
well,
that's, whew.
Yeah, and then the what we would just call the disposable recurring costs.
Yeah.
Which are the containers, the paper,
The linen.
the disposables,
Yeah.
the cleaning supplies,
Yeah.
all of that has gone up way more than inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even inflation being, 7% now?
Yeah.
Even more than that.
And I just got a tip about chemicals if you haven't heard. Something's wrong in Canada and with those borders. So there might be a little spike in chemical prices too.
Fantastic.
So FYI.
That reminds me, another cost that people can think about are, I forget the term for it. I believe it's expected loss. And I was talking to the owner of Fieldings. And because we really liked these little salt and pepper shakers they had where it was clear plastic and you punched it from the top. And they were for sale for $50 a pair. And I thought, wow, that's kind of expensive. But if I've seen them used, they're very nice, high quality. And just out of a joke, we asked the owner, because he was there, do people actually steal these things?
1,000,000%.
Oh, yeah, of course.
1,000,000%.
at me-
Even the ones that aren't super fancy.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many salt and pepper shakers. We just had this discussion last week, actually, because we're down to 7.
Going away.
We're down to like 7 out of 24, and they're just like the cheap salt and pepper shakers because we don't use them that much.
This
And
is
it's
why
not
we
only
can't
that.
have nice stuff.
Also, soap dispensers. Like, I'm sorry.
stealing soap
Stealing a soap
dispensers?
dispenser.
Go down to Target. Go to
Attached the
Marshall's.
wall?
No, like in the beginning, before we had our like nice
Oh, you had
professional
the
one,
little-
we had
little
little
pump.
pumps. So I went into like a TJ Maxx or Marshalls and I bought some
That's hilarious.
for like $5-7. You know, something that looks nice, but I had to replace them 3 separate
That's
times
hilarious.
because people were taking soap dispensers, and I'm like, this is why we can't have nice things. This is all the unexpected costs that add up. Like, leave it alone. Go buy it yourself.
A really nice salt and pepper shaker. He said he was losing 6 a night
That's crazy.
at $50 a pair.
Because when you said that $50 a pair, I'm like, yeah, but they're free on the table. And people just
So and you probably got the worst attitude from the guy who's going to steal your salt and pepper shakers too.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd take that guy out back.
yep.
That's right. My aunt was one of those. We would always go out. We'd go out to dinner. So we lived in California, and it was like Orange County. We go to places like Claim Jumper, which was it's a famous California chain. It's like homey food, whatever. But she'd have her purse, and she's like, "Here, put this in the bag. Put this in." And it was like silverware. I'm like, "You have silverware.
You have it at home. Why are you
Absolutely.
stealing somebody else's?
It's not like it's that fancy, you know. Or here it's salt pepper shaker.
No, I have one better. I actually had a fellow manager from an old restaurant, and she would steal everything. And her goal was to have a place setting for 8. Like, I mean, we're talking plates, silverware. The thing that got me the most were the tiny cast iron skillets.
Ooh, I love those.
I love them too.
Aren't they really hot when you drop them in your
Those
purse?
are $30 a piece for a restaurant.
30.
$30. Cast iron is not
Cast
cheap.
iron is not cheap.
And when you're in a Tex-Mex restaurant, you have to have a lot of them.
cast iron around. Yeah.
You have to have a lot.
Yeah.
And we have 3 different sizes. We have some for our platters. We have some for, regular fajita 1 and for 2. And then we have our small ones for our bacon wrap shrimp and our chicken, or Baja chicken.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
Yeah.
And if I have to replace those, oh my God.
Does that include the little wooden plate that they come in?
It doesn't. That's separate.
Yeah, it's separate. Yeah. We had
separate.
to buy a bunch of that for the newest
It is separate.
restaurant. And it's the wood thing is a completely different
Yep.
SKU than
Yep.
the cast iron thing. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt.
It makes me want to cry.
And this is customers why we can't have
And this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
We're trying to provide a beautiful service for you.
Yeah. Now I will say I have those salt and pepper shakers. Now,
Stole
They're
them.
cool.
in my defense, I bought them.
hear that?
They are
Buildings, if
cool.
you're
You
listening.
hear that, Carrie? He
Are-
bought
Yes.
them.
They are. I had them.
Wink.
I bought them when the Hubble and Hudson market still existed.
Oh, they were for sale there, weren't they?
Okay.
I have my reasons for not being at Fielding's anytime recently, but
We don't have to
I
talk
bought
about
them
that.
back then, and they're fantastic. So
Yeah, that's why- that's
Yeah.
all
they're
about.
definitely quality.
Fun. And they're quality.
They're like burr plungers,
Yeah.
and so they can take a really good peppercorn or a really good
Yes.
piece of salt and grind it up.
Himalayan salt.
Himalayan salt.
Yeah,
Of
well, you
course,
have to.
Himalayan salt.
Had to
You know,
put the plug.
My
Not-
favorite,
not
my favorite
Morton's.
thing about Himalayan salt packages, if you get one, pick it up and look at it. There's an expiration date. 250 million years it's lasted, but it's not going to be good after March.
Right.
Somehow March
So
is there.
good thing you got it when you did.
Correct. That's so
Got it when
funny.
you did.
I love that.
What's your favorite dish right now?
Ooh.
Not in your own restaurant. Again.
Again.
People of this, chefs.
Man, my favorite dish. I mean, I hate to just keep putting it all on whiskey cake, but I could really use some Thai duck wings right now. They have a barbecue Thai duck wing.
I'm tempted.
we should-
Tempted by the Thai duck wings.
Well, what I'm thinking is that as a
You get
future
3 of them.
reference,
Are they
Fresno
bigger?
pepper. They're substantial.
Yeah.
They're not like a huge turkey leg, but they're
Are they
like
cheaper than chicken wings?
no. And there was a time where I couldn't get them because Whiskey Cake couldn't get them. And so every day, like I know the bartender over there in the Webster location, Baybrook. And so I would text Sam and I'd be like, do you have duck wings? Because I'll just get a craving. And she'll be like, no, not today. And then like out of the blue, she'll text me one day like, hey, we just got a bunch of duck wings. And I'm like, I'll be right there. Like, Here I come.
I would be very interested in those.
they're very good.
But chicken
A little
wings.
sweet, a little spicy,
Chicken
and the
wings are
meat.
another thing.
Yeah.
Chicken
Yeah.
wings are another thing. Is supply chain issue. To the point of where I saw.
like recently,
Yeah.
For the last year and a
Yeah,
half.
the prices on wings have gone up
Yeah.
substantially,
Chicken,
and to the point of
beef.
where Wingstop kind of rebranded online as Thigh Stop because they were using chicken thighs instead of chicken wings because nobody wants the thighs, everybody wants the wings. So they were switching product. That's the kind of level that, we were talking about, making modifications with avocados. That's the kind of damage and crisis that those things can occur where your entire model has to switch.
And I don't want to, I won't say the name because I don't want to call anybody out, but I remember going to a specific wing place and their wings were so small.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man,
but it's probably all they could get.
It was, I know it was all they could get. That's why I didn't harp on it. But man, I was just like, this really sucks in our industry right now. Yeah. It's a constant, no matter what. If it's chicken, if it's beef, if it's paper, it's always
well, that was my next thing. Ultimately,
you have to be adaptable.
Yeah, that was my next thing. So this is a temporary crisis we're dealing with now. We all expect this to end at some point. It's
hopefully
crises are only so sustainable.
Which one? The chicken one, the paper one,
the avocado one,
the avocado one.
Honestly, it's the paper one for me right now.
Paper one's a big deal.
And I just let's get into that real quick because I also want people to know.
When you're talking about paper, you're talking about.
I'm talking about to-go supplies.
Containers. I call it containerization because so our restaurant is 100% to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And we depend on the availability of 24-ounce, 32-ounce, 3-compartment containers.
Absolutely.
Got to have them.
Yeah.
Got to put food in containers to go.
And ever since the pandemic started, there has been a 30% at least in increase of to-go.
Yeah.
And catering. Yeah. And that's a demand that you want to meet, obviously.
Well, entire restaurants shifted into that model.
Absolutely.
Everything.
And so now all the containers that existed now have to be spread out.
Yep.
And then you had a bunch of people not working.
Right.
Factory shut down.
Exactly. People stopped producing foil.
Stopped producing, foil, all this kind of stuff.
Plastic, styrofoam.
Yeah.
And, your heart hurts a little bit because you have to buy styrofoam because you don't want to kill the earth. But it's sometimes all you have.
I'm not concerned about that right now.
I'm definitely not right now, but
if we can find the styrofoam,
I want to pay less.
We'll find it, yeah.
I mean, for example, a 3-compartment foil container back then cost me $90 a case. It's $320 right now. $320. So for me to put enchiladas and rice and beans in one container, I mean, that cost is $3, just for all my paper products at this point.
For one plate of food.
For one plate of food.
We'll have to
one
talk
plate of food. We'll need to get together on that. But, I have a lot of people who are, disgruntled about, if someone will call me and be like, this queso is a lot different than the queso I ordered last time.
Yeah, probably.
And I was like, well, ma'am or sir, it was in a 16-ounce container last time. I can't get those no longer. It's in a 12-ounce now. But I mean, regardless, you're ordering an amount of an 8-ounce. So it does look a little bit different in 12 than it does a 16. Right. You're still getting the same amount of queso, I promise you. If not, sometimes I even add a little bit more because I feel bad.
Right.
I'm constantly doing that. Right. Never will I ever subtract what I'm giving to my guests.
Right.
And they feel always like they're cheated, like they're gypped out. And I'm like, I promise you, not only do I have a great heart, and you don't know that, but I also believe in karma, and I'm never going to jeopardize that, no matter who you are, where you are. Yeah.
But the variability of packaging and that the consumer perception of the availability of packaging is a huge deal.
They get so mad.
We do these we do standard 16 and 32-ounce deli containers, but we also do these 5 and 10-ounce black containers that are from American Royal that are a little bit different, and they're very hard to find. And 5 and 10 is very hard to find.
Right.
4 and 8,
all the even numbers are easier.
You can find, but 5 and 10 you can't. And our portions are actually 4 and 8, but we don't put them in 4 and 8 containers because then they would overflow and you'd have other problems.
You need 5 and 10 containers.
But if we happen to move to an 8-ounce container because that's what we can get, people feel gypped.
Absolutely.
And you never want that.
And you don't want to overflow because nobody wants to pick up a missing container out of the bag. And go, ooh, my hand.
And then another thing, I'll have these big to-go orders come in and they want a combo for 2, a combo for 1, another combo for 2, and then they'll order 2 or 3 large quesos. And so for me, in my mind, I'm going to put all that and consolidate it as much as I can. So I can do a half pan and I can put fajitas for 8 if I wanted to in one pan. You order 3 large quesos, I'm going to put that in a 7-inch round that can hold 20-something ounces, if not more, and I'm going to fill that up. I say 20-something, like 30-something ounces, really. But, I mean, the there's also another story that I can tell that I was just blown away by during this whole crisis, because it's still an ongoing crisis, but it was one of the Facebook pages. Somebody had, I mean, not nice things to say about Whataburger. And let's just take a minute because everyone...
You can't badmouth Whataburger.
You cannot.
Ever.
We're in Texas. Like,
Ever.
Whataburger is a staple.
We're going to track them down.
Like, I almost did.
Even though it's presently owned by a
I almost sent a
Chicago
strongly worded
financial
email.
firm.
But I saw this post, and it was so contradicting, and then two, it just was, I mean, insane. So they'll not be named, but I know who you are. There was a picture of a brown bag with their order in it, and it's just a brown paper bag. Their comment was, and they left a huge paragraph, their comment was,
The novel writers.
I really shouldn't be talking bad about Whataburger because, they didn't get my order wrong and it didn't take long. But I mean, come on.
The food was good. The food was hot. It was well priced. They didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
They didn't get the order right.
But come on.
They were like, come on, a brown paper bag. Like, this is probably people in Chicago trying to cut costs. Give me my white paper bag back. And I'm just sitting here and I'm reading this and I'm like, dear
Knowing what you know about
God.
the paper scenario.
Knowing what I know because, normal
This is
people don't
perception.
know.
This is perception. People just have no
A white paper bag. Your order wasn't wrong. It didn't take long. Everything was great, but you're going to complain because Whataburger itself, the large conglomerate that it is also having paper product issues and getting containers and bags. And heaven forbid, you have to have a plain brown paper bag for your order. Like, get out of here. Get out of here.
See, and one of the things I thought was a positive aspect of social media was everybody having a voice, but then you deal with everybody having a voice and you realize
It's a
not
free
everybody
country.
should have a voice.
Not everybody should have a voice.
Yeah.
And not everybody should have a platform either.
Right.
No, I am a firm believer
Yes.
that not everybody should have a platform.
You can go real dark real quick.
I'm not one that thinks I should have a platform, but
A lot of people
Saying this will be
question
my
us on
last
this
podcast.
podcast.
This will be my last time.
as well. This may be our last.
My one and
number
done.
6, yeah.
One and done, guys.
I love the stories.
I love it.
I love the stories. We're gonna do something different. We're gonna go through a little questionnaire.
Okay, I'm ready.
I always say this was shamelessly ripped off. If you've ever watched Inside the Actor Studio.
Oh, I have.
Okay, so at the end of Inside the Actor Studio, James Lipton always did a survey
Okay, I know where
for
this
his
is going.
guests, which came from through a whole different lot of ways, but eventually Marcel Proust. So a couple questions, just what off the top of your head. What is your favorite food?
Oh, okay. So favorite food. Can I just say a genre of food? Because I
Yeah.
could eat Asian food all day, every
Because she's
day.
said Thai
No,
duck wings
no,
more times than we
you
can count in
can't.
this one podcast.
Chinese, Japanese,
allow that.
Vietnamese, Thai.
I would allow that
Okay,
for
pick
someone who's
one.
not a chef. I would allow that for someone who's not a
Curses.
chef. But no, you have to pick a favorite food.
Favorite food. Okay, I'm going to say then. Man, I'm gonna go Thai. There's a dish, pat siao.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That is my probably favorite
Which
dish.
meat on Pasiao?
I like the chicken, and I like extra sauce.
Because one of the guys I work with loves pad siao, but he wants it beef.
Oh, interesting.
So it's
And to be honest, I've never tried it with another protein. I'm a chef. I know I've paused for reaction when I say this, but I'm a very basic eater in myself.
Most chefs are.
I
Simplicity is key.
kill people when I tell them that, I cook and I make beautiful meals for people all day long, every single day, every week, every month. The last thing I want to do is make an extravagant meal for myself.
Exactly.
I don't, a lot of chefs don't cook at home. I don't cook at
Have
home.
you never seen that meme of here's the chefs what they served you and here's
Right.
what they ate, which
It's like
consists of,
McDonald's.
like leftover mac and cheese eaten on a milk crate in the back of the
Yes,
restaurant.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad. And it's so true and it's so honest. Like that's what we're eating.
Well, I'm guilty of this as a automotive shop owner. I mean, my wife, I want her to have a new car because it's the dealership's problem, not mine.
Speaking of problems, there is a giant cargo ship full of Porsches
Oh.
The
in
bottom
the
of the Atlantic.
Atlantic,
Shut
bobbing and
up.
on fire.
What? I
My
did
guess
not
is
know
one of the
this.
Porsches caught fire.
Porsches, Volkswagens, and Bentleys.
No.
They had to
Oh,
airlift.
and a bunch of Lamborghini Uruses as
They
well.
had to airlift the 22
Well, mine was
crew
probably
members
on there.
Yeah, that's where my
That's where my
is.
Lamborghini is. Oh my god, I've been
That's the
waiting. Thought
Okay.
it was the pandemic.
What is your least favorite food?
Oh, my least favorite food. Again, probably gonna offend some people. I'm not like I'll eat Italian food, but it's not like the first on my mind. I know. I'm sorry.
You haven't had good Italian food.
Yeah. And it's just so heavy. So another thing
Oh,
is
then you really haven't had good Italian
I
food.
know. And you know, people say never trust a skinny chef, and obviously I'm like 130 pounds soaking wet, but I don't eat a lot. And when I do, it's like, I mean, morsels. I'm like grazing, essentially.
We'll have to get you some good Italian food.
All right, challenge accepted.
I mean, his last name is Campofelice.
I know. And as soon as I threw out the Italian, I was like, this is not going to be good.
I was going to say you're not going to offend anybody, but you did. You what chef inspires?
just gonna go.
What chef inspires you the most?
Oh, man. Okay. So, can this be a 3-part?
You can, yep, sure. And you're not going to offend anybody.
Okay.
If you pick somebody who, maybe a friend and, is going to say, well, why didn't she mention me?
My mom, my grandfather. No. So I will throw out, the first that comes to mind, and it's not cliche, okay, because it's true.
Wow.
I love how you have to qualify.
Wow, deep qualifications.
Because I know,
We're a few
as
levels
soon as
down
I say
here.
it, people are going to be like, oh my God, of course. Mr. Anthony Bourdain is the whole reason I got into cooking, and is the whole reason I wanted to become a chef. I thought he was such a badass.
Yeah.
And
I thought you were born into it.
so my mother. My whole family cooks, and my whole family cooks a different way. And so I got a little from mom, got a little from papa, got a little
Hold
from
on.
grandma.
If your whole family cooks, so that means you hear criticism at the holidays if you cook something.
Oh my God, you have no bigger critic than my mother. I cannot make a good dish to satisfy her to save my life. And it's not just her, it's also my grandfather. Like, enchiladas were such a huge deal for me to get him to approve. I can't tell you how many different enchilada sauces
hilarious.
I tried. And, he'd taste it, be like, it's all right. Okay, I just put 16 hours into that one sauce,
Yeah.
but it's all right. Okay. And then I'm like, fully confident the next day, and I'm bringing him a different one, and he's trying it. He was like, it's better. Okay, well, I'll just go kill myself real quick. Great, thank you for nothing ever nice to say. Ever.
Pushing you to be better. But I will say, Bourdain does, it sounds cliche, but
Yeah, it sounds
there's
cliche.
there's a lot more, because he's one of mine too.
Yeah.
And I've read the books.
you're named after, right?
And yeah, I read the books, and I've even been to,
That was my first book I read.
oh, okay, Kitchen Confidential.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've been to Brasserie Le Hall in New York. And,
Yes.
it's his. It's
everything. It's his
yeah, it's
aura, the way
attitude,
he
it's the
presents
way
himself,
yeah,
I believe the French
think a
call
lot
the
it.
of
way he
yeah.
takes life.
yeah.
I believe the French call it je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
Yes, he
I
has
bet
a.
the French have a word for that.
They have a word for everything.
But yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's, and I can see people seeing that and going, oh man, this is gritty and in your face.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, really intriguing and adventurous.
Yes, which
And
I
it
live for.
makes people want to get into that. Now,
It's me.
Now the big question is: are restaurant kitchens the way that he put them forth in Kitchen Confidential?
Mm-hmm.
Now
Right. It's a much different animal.
it's a much different animal now.
Absolutely.
You don't. I don't think you really. No, I can't speak for every restaurant, but see the same level of what
For
I would call
most.
"quote unquote" depravity
Correct.
in restaurants.
It's definitely taking a different turn.
it's taking a different turn, but
yeah,
he did, he put forth this just such bravado and just
absolutely.
adventurousness into that. Highly recommended read.
Absolutely.
You can say it's cliche, but there's a reason why.
Yes. I went to
well,
Vietnam solely because of his love for Vietnam.
Yeah.
And it was the best trip I've ever taken because Okay, and actually, let me rewind a little bit. So a few years ago, I had to go to Mexico to be a part of a wedding for one of my employees at the time. She asked me to be a bridesmaid, and obviously overjoyed.
Obviously.
I'm going to go to Mexico for a week and have the time of my life at a Mexican wedding.
Yeah.
Right.
1,000%.
Yeah.
So we're in Jalisco, a little outside of Jalisco, in beautiful Capilla de Guadalupe. Never been. Highly recommend. The food, the street food, the tacos, the ceviche.
Street food in Mexico.
I can't stop. Like, oh my God. The paletas, like the little,
yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
3 times a day I was eating those because it was right on the corner where my hotel was.
Oh, wow.
And there was 2 hotels in the city. Like, it was crazy. So I remember that morning waking up to the news. So many people had texted me. I had seen it on social media, and I really just had a moment. This is my first day waking up in Mexico. I broke down.
Yeah. I think a
broke
lot
down.
of people did, yeah.
I broke down, and I had a solid hour of just being, just beside myself.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I got out of bed, and I was like, you know what? Can I cuss? I was like, fuck this. Like, I am going to take this trip, and I'm going to do everything that Anthony would be doing right now.
Well, and that it just goes back to that same, you don't know the battles that people are fighting internally.
Yeah.
You don't know.
I was heartbroken because I never got the opportunity to meet him. And that was my biggest thing in life. I wanted just to shake his hand or have a beer. Everyone wants to have a beer with Anthony Bourdain and just like talk life.
Yeah.
And I was so devastated that I never got that chance or that opportunity. And so taking Mexico, that trip, put on a whole new meaning for me. And then the next year I had the opportunity to go to Thailand, and I was like, I have to go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
If I'm coming to
Yeah,
Thailand,
if you're going all the way over there, you might as
Yeah.
well.
hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah.
I went to Da Nang, Vietnam, and it was incredible. And I did and lived out everything that he would do and the way he did it. And it was, core memories for me, like 100%. So Anthony Bourdain, going back, again, my number one chef who inspires me, motivates me still to this day. But secondly, we'll switch gears. Alton Brown. Alton Brown taught me how to cook. My turkey, to this day, I've cooked turkey for the last 11 years in my family.
Yeah.
No one can touch my turkey, first of all.
So here's the
Brown.
weird
The
thing.
science of it.
Those two
So
are
contradicting.
mine.
Oh, shut up!
So
You're
Alton
lying.
Brown is how I watched Good Eats
Absolutely.
on TV. And the whole thing about it is he wasn't a chef. He was a
Scientist, a mastermind.
He was a little bit of a master, but he was also a television producer.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of how he got his gig, but he liked to do with cooking. But he does all the science behind it. So you imagine him making something as simple as a lemon meringue pie, which is not simple, but explaining why the meringue does what the meringue does, and why the lemon curd does what the lemon curd does, and why the separation, if you don't do it right, the meringue layer will separate from the lemon layer, like it'll come off.
Right.
And why and he used all these little puppets
love it.
and all sorts of stuff.
Everything
It's
about
like
it, I
Sesame
love.
Street for
It
people who
still
like to
holds
cook.
up. If people want
still holds
to,
up.
please watch Good Eats.
Yeah, and he's a really interesting character. If you learn a little bit, he lives in Atlanta, or near Atlanta, and
He's married now.
yeah, very
talks
interesting
about that,
story about him, and how he, through the original Good Eats, kind of put on a lot of weight because he was
Eating
cooking
all
and
the
eating and
time.
testing it, just like we all are, and then did this 180 and ultra health nut. Now I can't remember, I gotta look if he's vegetarian or vegan, but ultra healthy and is super thin now, but then now he's doing so many other things.
Absolutely. Iron Chef.
And
everything
all,
like
all
that.
the other stuff.
His career took
But
off
yeah,
for
he
sure.
is
I have gotten
really
the
cool
opportunity to
guy.
see him in person. I have all of his books. I have all of the Good Eats on DVD.
I do too. So I was in Raleigh, North Carolina for work.
Okay.
And I had a free night and I'm walking around, and at this Raleigh theater, it was his show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, couldn't be anything. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon and the show was at 6 o'clock. And I Googled it and I'm like,
You got one.
oh my God, I could get a ticket. And I was like second row.
Oh my god.
I don't know how I got it. I was just like
That's amazing.
second row. And he does this really cool show that's cooking and science and kind of humor and comedy.
It was great.
Really,
and even like
interesting.
he had a guitar or something. Like he was even performing.
He had this giant
he had a CD out.
rocket ship
Yes.
that was full of popcorn.
Yep.
Like I think it was popcorn. And they basically created this just like popcorn avalanche.
And it was crazy.
On the show. Yeah.
And I was front row balcony when I saw it. So looking at it overhead was cool, it was super cool. Yeah. But I saw it at Jones Hall when it came to Houston. Oh, nice. And as soon as the tickets were announced, I was like, got it. Yeah. Like, I'm there. Yeah. It was great. It was a super great experience.
What sound or noise do you love?
Oh wait, actually.
I still have
a third chef. So this is actually a chef living and highly influences me. Her name is Nikki Nanaka. If you've ever seen Chef's Table on Netflix, which I'm sure both of y'all have, I want to say it's season 1, like episode 2, like it's right off the bat. She has a restaurant in LA, Nanaka, and she does a kaiseki course style dining. And just her philosophies, her attitude, the grace that she has, like just it's so hard. People don't realize how hard it is being a female chef in this industry, because it's like so backwards. Like, you know, they want to poke fun and be like, oh, women should be in the kitchen, and then when women actually are in the kitchen, it's a problem. Like, we're not taken seriously. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's funny you say that, because I lived in New Orleans for a couple of years, and I was absolutely clueless to the notion of the chef industry being dominated by men.
Yeah.
Until I got to New Orleans and realized how seriously they took it.
Yeah.
And when and that's when like I had friends that were firemen, and I would be invited to the firehouse, and it was a cooking competition for 24 hours straight.
Absolutely.
And a couple of guys brought prepared dishes. I'm like, oh, did your wife make that for you? And they looked at me like I had a third eye in my head. Just
surprised you got out alive.
Which is weird. Which is weird, because some of the most famous chefs in the world are women.
Absolutely.
I mean, Julia Child,
Alice
Julia Waters. I mean, you can name them.
That's why I found it so. I was so shocked when I first heard it for the first time. Like, what? But my mom did all the cooking at home. My dad couldn't cook his way out of a burnt steak. He couldn't even do that right.
And it's, you know, I'll go off on a little bit of a tangent because we're doing that consistently. But it's harder for women to be respected, appreciated, paid. And then it's such a misogynistic environment for a woman to be working, especially, you know, in the Latin cultures. You know, women are...
Really? What? Latin culture?
I'm sorry, you said something to me? You told me to do something?
Yeah.
No, check yourself, sweetie. Like, that's what we're dealing with.
The movie Waiting?
Yes.
Which is it's comedy, and it's not realistic.
You have to have tough skin.
But it's kind of like that.
You have to have tough skin. And having a soft heart with tough skin, that's the combination.
Tough combo for sure.
Okay, what is your favorite sound? Or noise?
Favorite sound or noise? Ooh.
This one throws people.
Yeah, that's a good one. Man, I don't know, a good playlist. I don't know. Money shuffling. Money being deposited into my account.
That's a very nice sound.
Red cash register sound.
The ding.
There you go.
A money counter. If it's my money, that's a great sound.
That's a great sound.
Absolutely.
We're back to the cartel.
I do love the sound of rain too. You know, a day off.
The sound of a day off.
A sound of a day off.
There you go.
A day off. The weather's bad. The rain is nice. It's not humid. What more could you want?
The sound of money. We might count while it's raining.
Yeah. What sound or noise do you hate?
Man, people are going to be mad at me. A baby crying. A baby crying.
I think that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
Yeah. As we got a lot of that. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because being raised in a restaurant, you've effectively done most of them, from sales to production to
I'm sorry, can I make $20,000 a month being an influencer? Can that be an option?
I don't know. I don't do it. I'd like to know that too.
I'm still waiting to earn the first dollar.
How do people do that? How do people do that? Like, it's insane to me.
I have my own opinions on
I'm
it.
still waiting. I'll post a TikTok and be like, "That's the one. That's gonna get me.
That's the viral one.
That's the viral
Get 3
one.
likes."
It's get 3 likes." Oh my gosh! You know that TikTok challenge, the Beyonce challenge? You know when everybody goes down. So I did that in my kitchen. I berated my employees for weeks before they finally just got tired of me, and they're like, "Okay, we'll fucking do it." Like. And it was the most viral TikTok that I did have. Granted, I had
How many?
like 300 likes. I had like 2,000 views.
That's not bad.
And I was like, "Oh my god, this is
not
it. This is
You're
it.
famous.
Like I'm
You're broken
famous."
out.
Famous.
But then the next day, the employees were like, "Oh my god, we got so many likes," and I was like, "We would have got more if you would have listened to me 2 weeks ago when it was a trend."
Trending's over. Thanks
gotta
for
get-
playing.
Trending's
Yeah,
over.
yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
guys.
You got to get the trend at the trend. Yeah, that's right.
But no, I don't know. You know, that's a great question. I love to teach my profession, meaning like I would love to teach people how to do my job, like and really younger people. I think it's a huge staple in someone's life to learn trade skills,
yeah.
and I think
Trade skills are so underrated.
underrated, and they're the
Underrated and undertaught.
backbone of what they never go out of style.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way.
Well, that's just it. You know, the trend with I use the word children so lightly because I'm so old. Everyone under the age of 30 is a child to me.
Yes, 33.
But these children are, you know, they're not taught about the trades,
They're not.
and the schools have lost the trade part of the schooling.
Absolutely.
And
There is so much that needs to be taught in schools nowadays.
Yes.
That is not taught, and it is going to be detrimental.
as an automotive shop owner, technicians.
Yeah.
I have a young technician who's working for me right now. He wanted to go to trade school. He graduated with honors from a private school. A very smart young man. And he told me he was, when he told his parents he didn't want to go to college, his aunt called me and said, "Frank, please meet with him, talk to him, keep him from making a bad decision." Talking to him, this kid needs to be in the automotive industry. But he was taught trade school. And the leading trade school for the automotive industry is here in Houston. And for that 2 years of trade school is $50,000.
Ooh.
When I graduated from high school in 1987, $50,000 was 4 years at Harvard.
Yeah.
Now it's 2 years at trade school.
Ooh. You know, even cosmetology is like that. It's like 15 to 20 grand just to do
Jeez.
cosmetology school, and that's like 8,000 hours, I think.
Yeah, hair is very serious business.
Hair is, I mean, obviously.
I washed
I
mine
take my
yesterday.
hair-
You're welcome.
I take my hair very seriously.
Well, that's an Italian thing.
And the weird thing
Yeah.
is I don't have a lot of good qualities, but I do have good hair. That's the only good thing I
You do
have.
have good hair.
I do have great
It's
hair.
nice. It's full.
No, I have great hair. And,
Like John Travolta in
and
Saturday Night Fever.
so I found this woman downtown, in downtown Houston, when I was working at Centerpoint. Her name is Patty. She is a barber.
Oh, a real one, like a
Downtown.
barber. When
Like
you
a
say
barber.
barber,
Like
you're not
barber.
talking about a hair person. You're
No,
talking about a
no,
barber.
she's a barber.
Yeah.
I have been going to her for like 20 years.
Wow.
I still drive downtown to get a haircut
That's amazing.
from her because she is the only one.
I love
Now,
that.
She is, plus, you know, I love her to death.
Of course.
Been
She's
with her for
family.
20 years, family.
Yeah.
And, she's seen my kids grow, both of my daughters be born.
Oh.
She knew me when I first got married, when I first started working there.
Now she's
you
a
know.
barber. Like she
But
doesn't cut your
she doesn't
girl's
cut
hair.
women's hair.
Yeah.
No. And for the longest time, she did the back of my neck with a straight razor,
Ooh.
like a
Yeah,
like
yeah.
A steady
one of
hand
those
right
little
there.
foot
Yeah.
straight razors. Yeah. She's fantastic.
I love that.
Trade professions are.
I love that.
So I don't.
Yeah, so something in the trade profession. Teaching. Yeah, for sure.
What would be in your last meal?
Ooh.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. Oh.
How would you want to go out?
Rachel says this is a morbid question.
It kind of is, and I immediately thought of like death row.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's an account I
Yeah,
follow on
yeah.
Instagram, and it's like the last meals. It's like a picture and like the story behind
Right,
the inmate. I
right.
love it. It's
Right.
so
Some of them are
fascinating.
so weird. I love it. One wanted a single cherry
Yeah.
floating in a man's hat full of perfume.
Like it's
Yeah,
insane.
it's weird.
I love it though.
Yeah.
I love it. I wish they would make a Netflix series
would
specifically
be
for that.
fantastic.
I would watch
Just
that.
last meals.
Yes. Okay, so, man. Again, I'm going to make this complicated. So, That's how the day's going, so we're just gonna continue that trend. I would like a little bit of everything because that's how I normally eat. So
Like a buffet.
like a buffet. I'd like a little duck wing. I'd like a little tamale. I'd like a little cup of gumbo.
And let me guess, you'd want that done at Whiskey Cakes.
I like the wing to be from Whiskey Cake, yes. My mother's gumbo.
There you go.
Shout out mom again.
Shout out, Mom.
She'll be happy. My grandmother's tamale. I would also throw in, some freshness, some greenery, some salad.
Just,
Freshness.
prolong your life a little bit.
I'm also going to throw in some McDonald's French fries. Oh, don't hate
Oh,
me.
those are so good.
Um,
But only when they're crispy, out of the bag, eaten out of the bag while you're driving away from the drive.
no,
best
see, I
way.
disagree.
No, you gotta eat them up.
Uh-oh.
I like my McDonald's French fries. I like to be soft and salty.
Ooh.
Soft, no.
Soft and
No,
salty.
you're wrong.
I don't like crispy.
You're wrong.
I don't. I don't.
What we like is that Anthony has no opinions.
Right.
I have no opinion. I have no strong opinion either way.
But
But you're
contradicting
wrong.
me this whole
But
time.
you're wrong. They have to be crispy, hot, and out of the bag as you're driving away from the drive-thru.
Correct.
Before anybody else can get to them.
Yeah.
What I refer to, my daughter, is the same thing, but with Whataburger fries. And so as she's sitting there, I take the bag, I stop, and she looks at me, Daddy, no. Daddy tax.
Oh my god, I love that. Yeah, it's just a spring roll maybe from a Vietnamese restaurant. It's a
A smorgasbord.
yeah.
And you expect
Ensemble.
you expect a prison chef to make this for you.
1,000%.
Yeah.
If I'm on death row, they're gonna have 20 items that they're gonna have to procure for
figure out how to
me.
make.
Like,
I don't know how many cigarette packs is going to cost.
and then
to
top
get
it with
that
a
dumpling in
chocolate
here.
strawberry.
We're going to have to do that. Chef, thank you so much for joining
No,
us.
absolutely. Thank
I
you
think
for
it's
having
been really
me.
fun, very insightful.
Yes.
I think all of us are craving some duck wings right now.
Absolutely.
I didn't
Let's
even
go
know
to
they had the
lunch.
Thai duck wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have
yeah.
to. Shout out.
We're gonna have to do that. This is
Yay.
a lot of fun.
This is great.
Really like chatting with you.
The chemistry.
I love the story.
It's really
the
Frank
story,
that
girl.
carries us.
Yeah. Yes. Love the story. Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
We'll see you guys next time.